guys, so sorry for disappearing a bit again. Coming home wasn't as smooth as I was hoping it would be. I've been doing a lot of job hunting. I can't currently go to school, so a job is really essential right now. I do apologize, but I'll try to make videos a little more regularly now. I mean, no promises. I'll certainly try. Today I want to do something that I've done once before, and I thought it might be fun to do again. I had a really good discussion with some of you in the comment section last time I did this, so I thought I'd just do some quick book reviews of a couple books that I read while I was bored and kidnapped. The first one is Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. You guys are probably pretty familiar with this one. This is the second book in the Hunger Games series. I did honestly enjoy the first one, so I was looking forward to reading this one. After everything that happened in the first book, Katniss now has to deal with the repercussions of her actions in the first book. Like, I can't say too much without giving away, but that's the basic plot. And yeah, I really didn't like this book very much. I found it really boring. There's not much happening in this book until the very end, and what happens really quickly. I think honestly my biggest problem with this book is that the bad writing is incredibly noticeable. I didn't notice it as much in the first book because I was enjoying the story so much. That wasn't the case here. The bad writing is so blatant. The frequency in which they bring up Rue is borderline obnoxious. It feels like it's every other chapter where they bring up her name. It kind of really shows how mediocre of a writer Suzanne Collins is. She's not an amazing writer. I'm not ever saying that. Very noticeable in the second book, and it's actually much harder to read because of that. From what I've heard from a lot of people, because I didn't like the second book, I'm probably not gonna like the third book, which I'm guessing will be so, because I really did not enjoy this book. The next book I wanted to talk about is Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Jonathan Safran Foer, I believe the name is. It's basically about a boy whose father had died in 9/11. He's just trying to make sense of his life. Ends up finding a key which he thinks is going to solve a mystery that his father possibly left for him. He goes on a journey to find what the key unlocks. I'd say overall that I do like this book. The writing's very good, it's very interesting, it is really sad, and the images that they couple with a lot of the chapters are kind of hard to look at some points, and also very much complement the narrative. It's nice to see those in there. The main complaint I would have about it is that the writing can get a little annoying. It is written from the perspective of a very young boy, so you kind of get these like rambles that just go on for pages and pages. It does get kind of irritating, but it does lend itself to being a narrative of a young boy. It's very relevant, and I do like it written that way. It just does get a little grating at times. I did enjoy that book, and I'm looking forward to reading his book Everything is Illuminated, because I've heard that's very good as well. The next book I'm going to talk about is Haunted by Chuck Palahniuk. I would generally say I'm a fan of Chuck Palahniuk, though I do find him to be a little overbearing at times, especially if you read his books one right after another. I'll just say this, that it's a bunch of people going on a writer's retreat, and people end up dying and all this crazy stuff happens. That's as much as I could say without ruining too much. As far as Chuck Palahniuk books go, this is probably my least favorite. I've read quite a few of his books. Fight Club, Survivor, Lullaby, Invisible Monsters. I do like his, like I mentioned, I do like his writing, but it's just not something I could read all the time. He is very cynical. Fun fact, if you read any Chuck Palahniuk book in public, I guarantee somebody will come up to you and talk to you about it. Because that's what happened when I read Choke, and I felt like a pervert. Haunted is, I would just say it's okay. I wasn't super invested in any of the characters. There really isn't a main character in this book. It goes through about a cast of, I almost want to say 15 people. There is a linear story, but it is broken up into stories written by each person. These stories tell both their backstory and also just random stories in their life. It is broken up quite a bit, and some of the stories aren't that interesting, while others are way more interesting. So some of them you're kind of trudging through, and other ones you're really interested in, and then they stop and you're back to the narrative and you're trying to remember what was happening there. I did like it. It's just it's not one of my favorites. I didn't find the ending very satisfying, not necessarily a happy ending, not that the characters were really looking for one. And the last one I'm going to talk about, which I just finished yesterday, is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. American Gods is about this guy named Shadow who gets enlisted into this fight between the gods. He's on the side of the old gods from Greek mythology, Norse mythology, a bunch of other mythologies that have been long forgotten, versus the so-called American gods, which is technology, it's TV, all the things that modern people kind of worship, not necessarily as a god, but it has become that way. I really did enjoy this book. Every other chapter or so, it'll tell a story from mythology, or just a person that had brought a god over from their native country to America. But overall, like, honestly, the best part of this book is the ending. There's such a good conclusion to this, and it's something you don't expect. I kept thinking that I could guess the ending to this book, and I was completely wrong. The end of this book is just so fantastic. Even if you find a lot of the parts in between boring, I think the ending is totally worth it. It's such a good payoff. I really enjoyed it, and this is where you really see what a fantastic writer Neil Gaiman is. I really enjoy his writing. If you guys like my quick book reviews, I don't know if I'll do this all the time, but I just thought I'd do it so I could catch up with you guys and tell you that I love you and miss you. So I will see you guys hopefully soon.